So today's shlokas are shlokas 20 to 23. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukham atyantikam yattat buddhigraham yatindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tattvataha yam labdhva cha param labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So please repeat the word for word meaning. Yatra,
Yatra,
in that state of affairs where uparamate, sees, because one feels transcendental happiness. Chittam, mental activities. Niruddham, being restrained from matter. Yoga sevaya, by performance of yoga. Yatra, in which, cha, also, eva, certainly, atmana, by the pure mind, atmanam, the self, pashyan, realizing the position of, atmani, in the self, tushyati, one becomes satisfied, sukham, happiness, atyantikam, supreme, yat, which, tat, that, buddhi, by intelligence, grahyam, accessible, atindriyam, transcendental, veti, one knows, yatra, wherein, na, never, cha, also, eva, certainly, I am, he, sthitaha, situated, chalati, moves, tatvataha, from the truth, yam, that which, labdhva, by attainment, cha, also, aparam, any other, labham, gain, manyate, considers, na, never, adhikam, more, tataha, than that,
than
yasmin,
yasmin,
in which,
in which
sthitaha, being situated,
being situated,
na,
no,
never,
never,
dukkhena, by miseries,
by miseries,
guruna api, even though very difficult,
even though very difficult,
vichalyate, becomes shaken,
becomes
tam, that,
that
vidyat,
vidya
you must know,
you must know
dukkha samyoga,
Yoga,
of the miseries of material contact,
The miseries of material contact.
viyogam, extermination,
Extermination.
yoga samyitam,
Yoga Samhitam.
called trance in yoga.
called trance in yoga.
Translation. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi,
The stage of perfection called trance or samadhi,
one's mind is completely restrained
one mind is completely
restrained
from material mental activities
from material
activities
by practice of yoga.
by practice of yoga.
This perfection
This perfection
is characterized
is characterized
one's ability to see the self
by one's ability to see
the self
by the pure mind
by the pure mind
and to relish and rejoice in the self.
and to relish
the self.
In that joyous state,
The joy state,
joyous state.
one is situated
one is situated
in boundless transcendental happiness,
in
Boundless transcendental happiness
realized through transcendental senses,
realized
transcendental
transcendental
established thus,
established thus,
one never departs from the truth,
never
never departs from the truth.
and upon gaining this,
And
upon
upon
gaining
gaining
this,
he thinks there is no greater gain.
he thinks there is no greater gain.
Being situated in such a position,
Being situated in such a position,
one is never shaken,
one is never shaken.
even in the midst of greatest difficulty.
Greatest difficulty.
This indeed
This indeed
is actual freedom
actual freedom
from all miseries
From
all miseries
arising from material conflict.
arising
from material contact.
So difficult to cover 4 shlokas in 5 minutes, but we'll try. So far, the Lord has been talking about the process. In this particular shloka, the Lord is talking about the results. The Lord is talking about 2 results. So in one of the shlokas, he's talking about the result of transcendental bliss. In the last shloka, the 23rd shloka, the first line of the 23rd shloka, the Lord is talking about the second benefit, which is a cessation of material miseries. So there are 2 benefits the Lord is saying when you are situated in the self. What is the situated in the self? It means you have risen above everything on the bodily platform and you are experiencing a great deal of joy because you have understood that the self is the only thing that is reality. At least that's the first step. That's why it is called self-realization. So when you have achieved self-realization, the two results are you will experience transcendental bliss. The second benefit is that obviously because you're experiencing bliss, you're not experiencing miseries anymore. And when you have reached that state where you've understood true self-realization, actually this is the only bliss that matters to you and nothing else matters to you, then the Lord is saying you are fixed up in that state. In the sense you've reached that stage where nothing else matters to you except Krishna consciousness. Everything else becomes secondary. Nobody and no situation can stop you from practicing Krishna consciousness. Of course, here the Lord is specifically talking about Dhyana Yoga. But because we are all practicing Bhakti Yoga, the best way to understand and apply this shloka is that we have to be fixed up in Krishna consciousness and understand that that is the only way out for us. No other hope for us. And in the process, we experience a great deal of joy. So the problem with the mind is that there is a comparison in the Shastra that says that, Prabhupada uses this example quite often, that if you drop something in the water and you want to find it, you shouldn't disturb the water, because the more you disturb the water, the less the likelihood of you being able to retrieve that thing which you have dropped in the water. But once you allow the water to stand still, you can locate that object that you have dropped in the water and pick it up easily. So similarly, an unsteady mind is like muddy water. But if there is a glass of water with dirt in it and you add some alum to it, it is said that the water becomes clear. So for us, having that relationship with the Supreme Lord is what actually helps us clarify that mind. It removes the dirt and the disturbance from the mind. Yes. So now, why would you experience bliss just realizing yourself? Because yourself is part and parcel of the Supreme Self, the Supreme Soul. And because the Supreme Lord is Anandamayo Bhyasat, it is only natural that if you are connected to the divine, you are also going to experience that bliss. The source of that bliss is the Supreme Lord. The soul itself is Satchidananda. Paramatma is also Satchidananda. And since you are part of Paramatma, you're part and parcel of Paramatma, it's only natural that you experience the same symptoms that the Lord has unlimitedly. This Anandamayo Bhyasa is there in the Brahma Sutra. What does this Anandamayo Bhyasa means? That through the process of worship, we experience that bliss. It is said that I was reading one of the senior devotees' commentary on these set of shlokas, and that devotee has mentioned that Patanjali says, because we are talking about Ashtanga Yoga, the Patanjali says that for us to achieve success in Samadhi, it can only be done through surrender. So success in Samadhi is through surrender to the Supreme Lord. So otherwise, what happens is when we are attracted to material things in life, if you're a poor person, then you're looking to make some amount of money through whatever means so that you can be happy. But that same poor person, let's just say that they become a millionaire. The minute they go and meet some billionaires, immediately that anxiety starts again. that I too want to be a billionaire. So like this, the mind is never satisfied. It's never satisfied, no matter what you give it. Right? On the material platform, one can never be happy because we are always comparing ourselves with somebody who has more than us or somebody who has something that we want. So this process, actually in the very last shloka, this indeed is actually freedom from all miseries arising from material conflict. Material conflict begins with hankering and ends with lamentation. So we just seesaw between hankering, lamentation, hankering, lamentation, hankering, lamentation. So that is the trap of Maya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Das Goswami writes that there is a particular statement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where he says that where there is light, there can never be any darkness. And where there is Krishna, there can never be Maya. So if we are connected to Krishna, then we are always in the transcendental position. The minute we disconnect from Krishna, then Maya begins to trouble us. Which is why there is a very important statement here that the Lord is making. Here he's saying, establish thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. So once you've experienced the true benefit of practicing Krishna consciousness, the true benefit of chanting, hearing, reading, serving the other Vaishnavas, you will come to that stage where you realize this is actually the real thing. Everything else is just a distraction for us. So once you have recognized this, so even for us as sadhakas, we don't come to this realization very quickly. It takes us some time to come to this realization. Maybe some of us are fortunate to realize this very quickly, but some of us are still carrying doubts, are still disturbed by external things very easily. We are distracted by external things very easily. But once you're convinced that this is the only thing that matters, then you will hold on to it like as if your very life depends on it. So you will hold on to the association of Vaishnavas. You will hold on to the lotus feet of the Lord because you recognize that this is the only thing that matters for you. Nothing else matters. So this samadhi is actually freedom from material miseries and attainment of bliss. So the Lord is talking about transcendental senses here. So how can senses which are considered material suddenly become transcendental? It becomes transcendental because you're on the path of Bhakti Yoga. So slowly your senses become spiritualized. Everything about you becomes Krishnaized. That's the term that Srila Prabhupada coined. Everything becomes Krishnaized. In that situation, you are actually experiencing bliss. You know, one of the devotees that I was talking to yesterday asked me a question about anger and anger management. Most of us have a problem with anger. Some of us have it a little bit more severe than others. And that anger stems from one of, obviously, we have expectations. But the deeper that you go into Krishna consciousness, actually all your anger should subside because the same situation that would have triggered an angry outburst or an upset, that same situation you don't respond to anymore because you have realized it is not important to respond to everything. Every stimuli that is outside you in the form of others, their words, their actions, you will not respond to that stimuli. When you realize that you don't have to respond to everything that is coming at you, then you are situated in that transcendental realm. Because what others do no longer matter to you. Because you are more inclined to protect yourself than worry about what others are doing. When you're fixed up on protecting yourself and your sadhana and your sanity, if your sanity depends on your sadhana, then you will do anything to protect it, including not being disturbed by what others say or don't say, do or don't do. So anger arises when we are focused on things outside of us. Anger subsides very easily when you're focused on yourself and maintaining yourself, maintaining your sadhana. So this is the typical question that we get. How do you manage anger? But real Krishna consciousness means your heart should become softer and softer and softer, such that you are learning to tolerate others' behaviors. So that is actually a true sign that you are making advancement in Krishna consciousness. That your anger must subside, And anger comes in different forms. For some of us, anger means shouting, screaming, using harsh words. For some of us, anger is much deeper within. We carry it in the form of anxiety, fear, unhappiness, etc. So real Krishna consciousness and chanting with devotion means all of this has to subside. If these anarthas in you are not subsiding after you've been chanting for many months and many years, then we have to fix our chanting. Prabhupada says chanting means crying out for Krishna helplessly. Mechanically chanting is good to begin with, but it's not going to yield the kind of results that you're seeking. So chanting means crying out for Krishna, saying, Krishna, I can't be without you. I need you in my life. Please don't ever let me forget you. So that's why so many acharyas write in their wonderful offerings to the Lord that they only talk about hanging on to the lotus feet of the Lord. They don't talk about, let me see you always. They begin with, let me grasp your lotus feet and never let go. So it begins there. It begins there when you know that you are helpless without the Supreme Lord and nothing else matters. So these are the 4 shlokas where the Lord is talking about the results of your practice. We said that practice leads to perfection, and the perfection is ultimate samadhi, which is transcendental bliss and elimination of all material miseries. Because you are constantly, Prabhupada used to say, you want to fly above the clouds. And Prabhupada used to say that devotees are above the clouds because you are experiencing something totally different. Right? So we have to create that transformation for ourselves. So we'll stop here for the day. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpadarupyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki jai.
Jai,
Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai,
Gurudev ki jai. Shri Gaur and Jai ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.